Hey guys, so today I just wanted to talk about something a little heavier than usual. And it's because November 22nd, 2020 will mark 1 year since I lost my rescue mutt. And this video will cover pet death, and it's gonna go into detail about things like that, so if you're not good with that, you probably shouldn't listen to this video. I've recorded bits and pieces of this and kind of strung it together, so if the audio quality changes a bit, that's why. So a lot of my online friends knew I had a dog, but they didn't know a lot about him. I never really went into depth about his story. I brought Peanut, formerly known as Peanut Buster. I didn't like it, so I dropped the Buster. I brought him home on December 2nd, 2012. He was estimated to be anywhere from 2 to 4 years old. His owners had taken him in as a foster dog, and they had tried to adopt him out before, but it didn't go very well. They wanted to be really careful with who they adopted him out to because he did have issues. He was abused by his former owners. He was malnourished and in really bad shape when they found him, so he had a hard time trusting people. I loved him like right away. Like my mom was like, "Are you sure?" Because like he's really ugly, and I'm like, "No, he's perfect." Like he was ugly, but I loved him. He had like wire hair. Oh my god! If I can find the ad picture, I'll put it in because he looked like a little alien or something. He had just hair everywhere. It was adorable. And he was just a perfect mix of like Dachshund and Yorkie. And I'll have pictures throughout the video so you'll see what I mean. Um, he had like a longer body, curly tail. He had the big Dachshund paws, the wiry Yorkie hair. He was just like a weird mix. I don't know. The night I brought him home, he jumped right into my bed and slept with me in my bed. He didn't care. It was like we knew each other forever. At the time, we had just moved into a new place, and I was homeschooled, and I didn't have any friends in the area, and I had just had a really rough time. We had lost our house. I was living in different people's houses for a while, and we'd finally found like a place. And so for him to come move in with us, it was like he fit right in. And not everything was perfect, obviously. Like he had horrible anxiety, and like men, loud noises, storms, children. We had a lot of gunshots because we lived in America and a wooded area, and there was gunshots everywhere. But they made him start shaking uncontrollably, and I'd have to like hold him, and sometimes I'd bring him into the bathroom because we had like a fan in there, and it was easier for him to calm down that way. The thing with Peanut is, with the emotional baggage he was carrying, I was not prepared for some of the behaviors he would display because of it. Looking back, I would have done a lot of things differently, and I wish I had. Getting down to the point, when backed into a corner or yelled at, Peanut would snap. Not full on bite, but he would. I don't know how to explain it. Nip, I guess, kind of warning you to stay the hell away from him. And I knew right away, it could develop into something worse. And that even though he was really well trained in the future, that he was always at risk to display this behavior later. I knew it was never going to be fully gone. Some people may argue that he should have been put down, and I understand where everyone's coming from. But to me, being the naive 14-year-old that I thought I was going to train him out of it. And I, for the most part, did. Through the years, he got a lot better. He always wore a muzzle in public. I never let him out around children just to be 100% safe. I don't know. I just feel like as soon as I bring up that he had this issue, everyone assumes he was a monster or that he was an attack dog that just bit everyone or something. It's not like that. It wasn't like that at all. He wasn't dangerous. They were circumstances out of his control, and I just felt like I couldn't give up on him because of this. And maybe I was in the wrong. I don't know. I think about it all the time. So after several years of him living with us, he was kind of like a new dog. Like his training was going great. Like he didn't like he didn't learn much. Like he learned the basics. Like he would sit, he would give paw, that sort of thing. He wasn't like a show dog or anything. He was getting like more used to having people around the house and stuff, and like he even like my brother-in-law, like he didn't like him at first, but then they started getting along really well, and he would go on walks with him and stuff without any issue. And he loved the car. I have pictures of that too. he was able to go to the pet store. He would go to the vet, and like he was fine. Like when I first brought him home, he could not go to the vet without like shaking, or like he even pooped on the vet once because he was so nervous. But towards the end, he was doing way better with that too. He went in and got all his shots and stuff, and he did like really amazing. My meme also came to live with us like right before we moved out. He loved her. She had like her chair, and then she'd have her walker right in front of her, so if she had to get up, and he'd sit under her walker like right next to her legs, and she would like sneak him treats and stuff, even though I asked her not to. And then when Jordy and I moved into our own space, the whole house was his. Like he was way happier. And he was just like incredible emotional support, and I don't know how to really describe that to somebody unless you've also had a rescue dog. So November 21st rolled around, and my meme was in the hospital. I think she'd been living with my mom for a little over a year, maybe more. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not great with time. But she went to the hospital, and unfortunately she didn't make it. The whole family was there, and we were all in the room with her when she took her last breath. Obviously it was sad to see her go, but it was a breath of fresh air in a way, knowing that she wasn't going to suffer anymore. Toward the end, she was going through so much shit, and I know she's at peace now. She didn't want to give up her independence, but she moved to New Hampshire from Vermont because she couldn't take care of herself anymore, and her health had been rapidly declining, so we knew it was coming, I guess, in a way, in a morbid, horrible way. We knew it was coming, and I think we had been mentally preparing for that, and she went very peacefully, and I think that's all we could have hoped for, because a lot of people don't get that luxury. Because she wanted to see the beach one last time before she passed. And the whole time she complained about the drive and how the air was too cold. But then she said she could smell the ocean, so it was all worth it. And it was just a very long day, and I went home and it was around, I couldn't even tell you the time, 7 or 8 o'clock, I think. And I went to my art room because, drawing is what I do when I'm sad. And Peanut came into the art room with me and curled up on his little beanbag chair next to my desk, and, things were all right for a moment. But I looked over, and I noticed Peanut was kind of heaving, and I thought maybe he was just, sleeping and having a dream or something, so I woke him up, and I was petting him and stuff, and after a while, he was still breathing really heavy. So I called the emergency vet since all the other vets were closed, and I told them, he's having issues breathing, he's breathing really heavy. And they said, for a dog his size and for one with heart palpitations, it was probably, wiser to just rush him there and figure out what was wrong. So we did. They said it might not be anything, but it's for the best to not mess around with breathing issues. Got all his tests and stuff done. Everything went fine. And they pulled me, into this side room, and they put him on this, table and stuff. And the vet came in and was like, it doesn't look too serious of an issue. I'm sure, we'll be able to figure it out, but it's going to be costly, and it's, he might have to get some sort of surgery in the future, and but these were all hypothetical things. He wasn't entirely sure what was wrong with him, but he kind of laid out different things that could have been wrong, and when the specialist confirmed one of them, moving forward it wasn't going to be cheap. So they they let me hug him. I gave him a little kiss on his head. And the last thing I said to him was, I love you. Be good. Because I always told him to be good when I left the house or something, Around 4 a.m. on the 22nd, they gave me another call and said that he wasn't breathing. He was essentially dying. So I begged them to speak to him. And the vet was such a dick. And so finally someone else took the phone and was like, what's up? And I told them, and they were like, yeah, okay. So they let me talk to him, and, they said, his ears were moving, but I couldn't see him. But I had to listen to them give him adrenaline, and, I told him how much I loved him, and I told him it was going to be okay, but he died right there on the phone. And they said he had a blood clot in his lung, and it took him so fast that there was nothing they could do about it. And when we got there, they put us in this little room with him, and I had to say goodbye. And his body was still warm, and I hugged him, and I talked to him one last time, and Jordy had to say goodbye, and he was like her family too. He was like our little baby, They made me sign papers to have him cremated, and they gave me all of his belongings and a stamp of his paw prints. The following week, I didn't do anything. I didn't eat, I didn't sleep, I didn't even really cry anymore. I was just laying there, you know? I just kept telling myself that it didn't really happen, and it did. I was just so overly tired and depressed, and eventually Jordy drove me to my sister's, and I slept on her couch for a while, and I ended up sleeping on my mom's couch for a while, like during the days, because like when Jordy went to work, I didn't want to be alone in the house. So eventually you have to face it, you know? Like you can't just keep ignoring it. And I had to go home, and I had to, you know, kind of come to terms with the fact that he wasn't coming back. And I had to move his toys eventually, and I had to get used to how quiet it was going to be without him there. And there was such an outpouring of support. I just got so many messages and so many people asking if they could help, and a lot of people chipped in to help pay off his vet bill, and it was just such a weight off our shoulders because I wasn't working for quite a while. I hope I did a good job at giving you a second chance because you deserved it, and I miss you every day. So hug your babies, y'all, because their lives are too short.